In our minds, there's never really been a car with the kind of explosive attention Xiaomi SU7 got. Even we, who are good at riding the wave, already missed the first release, the first delivery, the first track session, the first track crash. That crash was pretty serious. And the first street crash too. So you're probably wondering, what stunt we could possibly still pull. What are you doing? Should I just bite a lighter or something? In the end, we decided to just talk about it seriously. Is Xiaomi's first car actually worth the money? Does it live up to the marketing? Can it win over this bunch of chihuahuas in our office? What do you think of how this car looks? Pretty good looking. I think it's just average, but a lot of people say it's good looking. Strangers have even complimented it to my face. Wild. I never got that driving a Ferrari. Makes sense. With that many top students' answers. To reference, the score can't be low. Gotta say, the SU7's design pays tribute but also innovates. The headlights hide a Mi character shape. The taillights are said to be inspired by Saturn. The Founders Edition comes with carbon fiber frameless mirrors. Door handles that aren't hidden deserve praise. All the vents are functional, not fake. The drag coefficient is genuinely very low. Open up the 3-stage adjustable wing, and you can see a high-performance marking. It would be nice if there was a signature on that plate. At this rate, the motor must be hand-wound and hand-welded by a master craftsman. Keep it down. Don't let Rolls-Royce hear that. The SU7 offers several wheel and tire options. Most of them look great. You can upgrade for looks and performance, or downgrade for range. Speaking of which, these Brembo calipers are huge, like 8-piston huge. But why is the brake pad surface so small and thin too? With this offset and width on the stock wheels, just getting fixed calipers in there is already good. The main point is to look cool, not for you to take it on track. And if I insist on taking it on track, then you'll get a flood of attention. You could wait. For the upgraded brake pads Xiaomi is releasing later. The channel Wanche Regi already tested them. No fade. And lap times were still fast. How fast? Stock PCV tires did 1 minute 10.9 ftm. So if I swap to Cup 2s, wouldn't it just take off? It might fade too. Going by looks and lap times, you might assume the SU7 is a German performance car, but the interior feels like a family car. The light interior is clean without losing texture. The limited time free Nappa leather feels quite nice. The upper section is soft and fine. The lower half is all plastic. The materials are normal for this price range. The seat adjustment motor looks like the same one used in the Mega and M9. The auto start-stop transition is very smooth. What's most impressive for a new brand's first car is that the SU7's build quality is really solid. We couldn't find any obvious flaws, other than the badge number on Xiaodong's Founders Edition being slightly crooked. This interior is actually quite good. This steering wheel has a nice shape. The button layout is sensible and adjustment range is wide, but it doesn't look refined enough. The leather is also just average. Be grateful. At least they centered it for you. And it's round. Speaking of round, do these two round things look like two coins to you? Now that you mention it, yeah, kind of. Right, just when you think the SU7 is a proper family car, it turns out it's also a digital gadget playground. The infotainment system's smoothness and ease of use are basically flawless. The head-up display's size and clarity are top tier for this segment. But there's one feature you should use carefully. Which one? System. Sentry mode drains way too much battery. Sentry mode drains way too much battery. Is that because it wasn't optimized well? No, it's because this car is so popular. People kept gathering around it everywhere I parked. It just kept triggering sentry mode, over and over. It could lose 4% battery overnight. Lose 4% battery in one night. That's a bit much. But I think this surround view camera looks pretty clear. True. But when it comes to panoramic footage, the newly released Insta360 X4 is still the one to beat. It can shoot 8K panoramic video, 72 megapixel panoramic photos. Just pull it out, shoot, and reframe afterward. One person alone can get a GTA-style shot, a boyfriend angle shot, an aerial-style shot. Even if your car doesn't have sentry mode, you can stick an Insta360 panoramic camera on the roof as your own sentry. Can the battery handle that though? The X4's battery capacity has also been upgraded, with 67% more battery life than the previous model. Leaving it out like that, won't it get stolen? It's recording. Who dare steal it? It got stolen. No worries. We can check on our phones and see who was bold enough. Compass spinning the right way. The SU7's gauge screen can flip like a McLaren or Bentley's, but in practice there's only one display face. If you feel it's not showing enough info, you can pay extra for more dial faces. It keeps a few physical buttons. If that's not enough, you can pay extra for more physical buttons. It only has one wireless charging pad. If that's not enough, you can pay extra to add more. It's ambient lighting too. Wait, why is there so much stuff to buy? You don't have to buy it. Who could resist though? They threw in tens of thousands worth of free perks already. Couldn't they just throw these in too? Not everyone needs this stuff. Besides, selling cars is basically a charity move for them. They don't actually make money on it. The real money is in accessories. But fine, I'll let those slide. Why is there even a phone mount accessory though? Is the built-in NAV not good enough? Isn't having a choice a good thing? And it uses a standard 1/4-inch thread mount. So you're not limited to phones. You can mount a camera too. Say something. I was waiting for you to plug Insta360. Xiaomi's mount is too deep. We don't have a compatible accessory. If you could mount it, this is roughly what it'd look like. Insta360 X4. This is roughly what it'd look like. Insta360 X4. Just when you think the SU7 is a giant DIY toy, it turns out it's also a genuinely practical car. There's a ton of storage space inside. The trunk holds 517 liters, plus a 105-liter front trunk. Where do you even open this front trunk? You can only open it from the infotainment screen or your phone. What kind of bizarre design is that? That's the drive-by-wire design that's trendy right now. Steering, throttle, brake-by-wire, fine, I get that. But a trunk lid too? Be glad the glove box isn't by wire too. Fair point. You can optionally install a mini fridge under the armrest console, free for a limited time. Once installed, there's no extra storage box left. Under the center console you can install Xiaomi accessories like a speaker, intercom, fragrance diffuser, flashlight. You think this is where we'd show a real demo? Buying this whole accessory bundle would be enough to rent an SU7 Max for another day. Then let Xiaofeng buy it herself. Are we supposed to reimburse her? No way. Once it's installed in her car, it's her personal property. Then if we film her private car, do we owe her rent? No way. Getting on the show is her good fortune. Right. Just when you think the SU7 is practical, the back seat space will shatter your unrealistic fantasies. Headroom is normal for an EV sedan, but legroom is only at Model 3 level, worse than the 007 and S7. The seat back is very upright and not adjustable. The cushion isn't short, but you can't fully stretch your legs. Your thighs can only stare longingly at the cushion. How does this space dare call itself a C-Class sedan? Is there maybe a chance they mean Mercedes C-Class? The long wheelbase version, no less. Just when you think we got paid off to praise Xiaomi this much, the real praise is just getting started. The SU7 can switch driving modes blind by knob, just like a Porsche. So you don't have to tap around on the screen. You can also hit one button for 20 seconds of pure manliness. Only 20 seconds? 20 seconds isn't short. A Porsche only gives you 10. Sport Plus activates launch mode. We measured 0 to 100 in 3.07 seconds, using the happy measuring method that drops the first foot. We also found a 007 Kung Fu Yellow parked on the street, at the same temperature, road surface, tire pressure, and battery above 85%, with launch mode on. It only managed 3.41 seconds. Wait, with that result, our cover as Chihuahuas might be blown. That's normal. Geely cars are winter warriors, but power consumption goes up in the cold. People already joke it's an electric Lux gen. Let them joke. Geely owners don't rattle that easily. Speaking of which, the new Zeekr X. Besides its 3 preset throttle response modes, the SU7 also offers 100 levels of custom tuning. Slow can be gentle as a breeze. Fast can be a violent storm. This throttle response is really quick. It's just that initial burst. It's not as aggressive as the Tesla, GGA, or Porsche. They smoothed it out a bit. But it's still way faster than the 007. That's true. Besides 2 preset modes for regenerative braking, the SU7 also offers 101 levels of custom tuning. Whether you're coming from a gas car or a Tesla, you won't need much time to adapt. After setting it to 0, I still felt a bit off. It coasts way too much. You could easily speed up on a downhill without noticing. Last time I drove something this slippery to coast was the EQS. But if you factor in the price, the EQS should coast better at that cost. At that price you could coast yourself into a whole SU7. The steering has very little dead zone in the center, but it's not as twitchy as the GGA or Tesla. Cruising feels relaxed, and it stays nimble through corners. The turning circle and radius are close to the 007's, but the steering feel is a bit different from the 007's. The 007's comfort and standard steering modes aren't direct enough. I prefer its sport steering. The SU7's tuning feels heavier, a bit too gluey to me. Lighter steering would actually feel more agile, but I still prefer the SU7 steering. It feels more like a Porsche. Porsche steering isn't that great either. That just means you haven't driven a good Porsche. The 718 is admittedly a bit lacking. The SU7's chassis tuning is a real standout. The difference between its 3 modes isn't as obvious as the 007's. Subjectively, the stiffness sits between the 007 and the older Model 3, firm but with a bouncy edge. Over rough roads there's no extra vibration or noise. Going over speed bumps feels surprisingly comfortable. During quick lane changes and cornering, the body isn't as planted as the Taycan or S7, but it handles elevation changes calmly and confidently. Going over crests you can even see hints of certain cars' character in it. This is probably the best single-chamber air suspension we've experienced in any EV. Agreed. So when some cars have a bad single-chamber setup, it really just means they didn't do it well. If the all-wheel drive version is this good, the rear-wheel drive version without air suspension and adjustable dampers must be rough. Thanks to Xiaomi, who voluntarily and freely lent us her rear-wheel drive SU7 for us to mooch off of. This chassis is softer by 1 notch than the all-wheel drive's comfort mode. Steering response is also slower than the all-wheel drive's, but it's still sportier than most EVs at this price. Does most include the rear-wheel drive 007? Yes, it does. So why doesn't the 007 RWD get tuned like this? Maybe they were afraid making it too sporty would hurt sales. Makes sense. The rear-wheel drive SU7's power can't match the all-wheel drive's, but in sport mode the initial throttle is tuned more sensitive, creating a feeling of strong power, throttle opening. But we strongly recommend against using sport mode on the rear-wheel drive SU7 in the rain, especially if you're not an experienced driver. Sport mode lets the traction control off the leash a bit. During a lane change or overtake, if you turn the wheel a bit hard and press the throttle a bit much, the car can swing its tail wide. Even though the stability system will catch you in the end, for an average driver this moment is still pretty scary. If a friend of yours bought a rear-wheel drive SU7, please forward this video to them. Not joking, this really matters for them. Compared to its excellent acceleration, steering, and chassis, the SU7 Max's brakes are a weak point. The electronically simulated Brembo feel is unremarkable. Quick presses get a slow response. The initial bite is a bit soft. Once you press past a certain depth, braking force kicks in suddenly, creating a sort of step in the feel. Forget the track. Even on the street I didn't feel confident on this brake. But the base rear-wheel drive model's brakes feel more linear, and for some reason, this car pulls slightly left under hard acceleration, and pulls slightly right under hard braking. Weird. The rear-wheel drive one doesn't do this. Might just be a one-off issue. If any all-wheel drive owners are watching, help us verify whether this is a one-off or a common issue. There's also another thing. When you press the brake pedal quickly, There's a sound like a pressure relief valve. Listen, the sound has been amplified so you can hear it. It's not actually this noticeable in real life. Normal. Some Taycan's do this too. Even this is a tribute now? So aside from being a bit scary in the rain, the rear-wheel drive SU7 is actually quite fun to drive. At least more fun than the rear-wheel drive 007. Fair point, can't really argue with that. For a first car to have both chassis setups tuned this well, Xiaomi's team must have some real talent. Exactly. Chassis tuning doesn't necessarily need cutting-edge technology. What matters is finding the people who know what they're doing. So where did Xiaomi find these people? Simple, first find a leader. Can we even say that out loud? As a new brand's first car, the SU7 shows a level of polish and maturity beyond its age. This isn't just in the hardware tuning, it shows in the software too. It has the richest set of custom driving options in its class. If that's still not enough for you, it even offers a track mode. It shows the recommended tire pressure right below the pressure display, so you don't need to go check the B-pillar. When adjusting the air suspension, it shows the current ride height, so you don't have to look it up. When adjusting the rear wing, it shows the wing angle. That one's not really necessary, but having it beats not having it. None of this stuff is actually hard to do, but barely any car bothers. Just like Li Auto, its selling points aren't hard to describe either, but it's the one that actually did it. By that logic, Li Auto must have hired a bunch of dads. Well, their leadership is full of dads. And Xiaomi hired a bunch of people who love driving. Their leadership loves driving, after all. No wonder we're all such honest folks here too. Our leadership is honest, after all. Last thing, a small detail we'd consider minor. The SU7's sound insulation is average, about the same as the 007's. Power consumption, like with Li Auto, only shows drive consumption. After a rough conversion, the rear-wheel drive version is around 14. The all-wheel drive version can hit as low as 15. Normal driving gets you 17. Driving aggressively you can hit 20, which is excellent. Charging speed is said to be very fast. We used the competitor's 600 kilowatt liquid-cooled fast charger, starting from 21% battery. Peak power reached as high as 300 kilowatts. I remember when I charged the GGI S7 there before. It only hit 200 kilowatts. Bold of you to say that. The driver assist currently only supports NOA on certain highways and elevated roads. Lane keeping is fine, and following acceleration is fairly assertive. Lane changes and overtakes are also fairly aggressive. It's just that deceleration can occasionally feel a bit abrupt. So what level is this overall? Just looking at highway NOA, it's roughly on par with the 007, and noticeably better than the new 001. What about compared to Zeekr? There's still a small gap with Huawei. For a brand new first car, that's already pretty good. That rating's that high? Even though the NOA level isn't low, the SU7 still demands a fair amount of attention from the driver. If you don't have your hands on the wheel, it warns you at 20 seconds. It starts reminding you around the 20-second mark. Warns you at 30. Please put your hands on the wheel immediately. Warning starts at 30 seconds. A serious warning at 40. Driver assist is about to disengage. Fully exits at 50 seconds. Then it enters penalty mode. Adaptive Cruise has already dropped into penalty mode. Adaptive Cruise only now. Why is there even a penalty mode? For the rest of that trip you can't use NOA at all. It forces a downgrade to ACC. Isn't that penalty a bit harsh? Weigh that against someone's life. Which matters more? Auto parking works well. Once you've used it once, the next time you enter that parking lot, Valet Park Assist activates automatically. It's just that the route choice isn't always optimal, and it tends to give up when obstacles are close by. Parking paused, obstacle nearby. Please check and continue. You didn't need to brake that hard for that. The SU7 has another fairly uncommon feature. You can turn off every radar and camera, ditching all driver assist functions entirely. At that point what you get is just a plain, simple car. So, how many stars is the Xiaomi SU7 out of? That's hard to say. Is it because it's not good enough? Mostly because saying it now would make us sound like we got paid off. All we can say is, this car is genuinely fun. Whether you love driving, love tinkering with tech, care about looks, or just like the spectacle, people of all ages can find something to enjoy in this car. And the fun stuff is all in useful places. Nothing flashy for the sake of it. Like the powered doors, the light-sensing glass roof, the smart light strip, the moving center display. Wait, you're acting weird today. You've been subtly digging at Zeekr this whole time. Have you forgotten who we are? Well, since you all already know, I won't bother pretending anymore. I'm the famous Geely Xiaomi double agent, senior level. Codenamed that thing. Which one? That thing. Sunshine rainbow little white horse. One of us. Family, what do you use? I've got the 14. I've got the 13 Ultra. Thanks for watching this far. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and give it a coin. And hit follow while you're at it. Your support is what keeps us making content. The SU7 really gave us a big surprise. Honestly, after driving the 007, 001, and Zeekr S7, us being surprised that a domestic brand could make a car like this. That part wasn't all that shocking anymore. What's surprising is that this car came from Xiaomi, and Xiaomi's buzz is genuinely insane. Some cars that were supposedly hyped before usually only had buzz online or within car enthusiast circles. But Xiaomi has actually broken out of that bubble. These past few days, wherever I drove this car, people gathered around, from aunties to uncles, from grade schoolers to college students. And it's not just taking photos either. People genuinely come up and ask how the car actually is. I've never seen this happen before. I used to get a lot of stares driving supercars too, but nobody would come strike up a conversation. That might be on you, honestly. Maybe supercars feel too out of reach for most people, while Xiaomi feels approachable. People feel like this car has something to do with them, so a good car needs good marketing too. Otherwise it gets buried, which would be a shame, and good marketing needs a good car behind it, or it can easily backfire. Anyway, enough chat. Let's get to the weird questions everyone sent in. What's the difference between the all-wheel drive and rear-wheel drive chassis? A lot of EVs now come with two different chassis tunes. Some, like the 001 and Avrc 12, don't differ that much in feel. Others, like the 007 and Zeekr S7, feel like entirely different cars. The rear-wheel drive SU7 has softer damping, more body roll, slower steering response, but overall it's still on the firmer side. It's a genuinely good handling car, not as soft as the 007, and not as inconsistent as the S7. If you compared the 007 and SU7 all-wheel drive chassis to a BMW M3, then the rear-wheel drive SU7 would be like a 3 Series, 2 generations back. The rear-wheel drive 007 would be the current 3 Series, but a bit softer. How would you rate the 001, 007, and SU7 chassis? Update the chassis ranking chart. All three of these are currently top-tier chassis among domestic EVs. The 001 and 007 are stable and substantial. Agile and substantial. While the SU7 feels lower center of gravity than the 007, drives lighter and quicker. But correspondingly, on rough roads it feels a bit harsher, though not as harsh as the Zeekr S7. What about manhole covers? No excess wobble either. So on our personal subjective chassis ranking chart, the SU7 lands right here. Which is more comfortable, the SU7 or the 007 Kung Fu Yellow? Which is sportier? The 007 Kung Fu Yellow is a bit firmer than the regular all-wheel drive 007, but the difference isn't huge. It's hard to call a clear winner against the SU7. Lap times are about the same too. It's like asking which is more comfortable, and which is sportier, between a BMW M, Audi RS, and Mercedes AMG. They're all on a different level entirely. We could talk about it all day, but you're better off just trying them yourself. Assuming you can actually get a test drive, which accelerates faster, launch mode, or just flooring it in Sport Plus. In any mode, the 20-second boost performs the same as launch mode. 0 to 100 just over 3 seconds. If you just floor it in Sport Plus, it's only 3.4 seconds. Throttle delay ranking, Model 3, SU7, 007, and so on. The 007's throttle response honestly doesn't quite match its chassis handling. The SU7 is a bit quicker, but not as aggressive as the Tesla, Lotus, or Porsche. There's actually a lot of nuance to throttle tuning. Faster isn't always better. Neither is more aggressive. Some cars, in sport mode, simply make the throttle more sensitive. But the cost is daily driving feels tiring. The slightest movement of your foot, and the car lurches. Hard to hold a steady speed. But something like the Taycan, even set to the sportiest Sport Plus mode, if you press the throttle slowly, the power doesn't feel that aggressive. But if you press it quickly, the power hits you instantly. The SU7's throttle has a bit of that Porsche feel. Just a little. Is that twitchy steering wheel tiring for daily driving? I wouldn't even call it twitchy. The Zeekr S7 and Tesla, those are actually twitchy. The SU7's center dead zone is very small, but the steering ratio doesn't feel that quick. Highway driving is actually pretty relaxed. Can it drift? Yes. Not just high-speed track drifting. It can also do donuts in place. Just turn on drift mode, and it becomes a pure rear-wheel drive car. This also shows how much customization the SU7 offers. Extremely rich custom options for handling. As for daily use, there's also the whole Xiaomi ecosystem and accessories. Back when Xiaomi started making phones, their users were the type who loved tinkering and experimenting, myself included. Xiaomi's car clearly inherited that same approach. If you like to play around, like to tinker, don't forget our old friend Insta360. These past few weeks, we've been using their Ace Pro action camera, and they just released the new generation X4 panoramic camera. Panoramic cameras are really interesting. Even if you go to the same place and do the same things, the footage it captures gets way more likes when you post it. Ever since I got this thing, I've constantly wanted to go do something, film something, kind of like how driving the SU7 makes you want to hit the track. It feels like rediscovering some of that youthful passion. And you don't even need any filming skill to use it. Just hold it like this, and it captures everything. Then you find the angle later at home. If you're into outdoor activities and travel, give it a try. The SU7's back seats look big but feel small sitting in them. Is there space under the seat to put your feet? That's true. Even if you can fit your feet under the seat, if either front or back passenger is a bit tall, the seating position still isn't great. The front cushion isn't very long either, but the seat back hug is pretty good. Both this and the 007 Kung Fu Yellow have active side bolsters, but the Kung Fu Yellow's bolsters wrap around you more fully, I think. The SU7's doesn't feel quite as good. When cornering, I always feel it pressing right here. That's called bolstering your lungs. How's the sound insulation? At 60 km per hour cruising, 55 decibels. At 80 km per hour cruising, 59.1 decibels. Between the regular 007 and the 007 Kung Fu Yellow on PS4's tires. Is there no foot kick trunk opening? Is the trunk button placed too low? That's true, there isn't. But the Taikung switch is in the same spot. You can just bump it open with your knee. It's just a bit rough on your pants. How's the overall build quality and materials? Build quality and materials are two different things. The SU7's interior materials aren't as refined or luxurious as the 007's or 001's, but the build quality itself is solid. The panel gaps and surface tolerances are well controlled. And we didn't just look at the two cars we filmed. We also checked out several in the showroom, all with solid build quality. Of course, we can only judge the surface. Deeper build quality and materials we'll leave to Xiang crash testing it against the 007. As for reliability, not sure if teacher Wang Yin is interested. How much slower is the base 400-volt version's charging compared to 800-volt? On the same 600-kilowatt charger, the power output is roughly a third lower. Still pretty solid for a 400-volt platform. Which is safer in a crash, the base version or the max? What's the ride height on the standard version? A bit higher than the all-wheel drive standard mode. Estimating from the all-wheel drive's own published figures, it's roughly around 140 millimeters, higher than the Model 3. How's the driver assist? Is there a big gap between the standard version and the Max? Right now the features aren't that different. Both have highway smart navigation. The experience is also pretty similar. The standard version's valet parking just hasn't gotten its software update yet, but as more features get added down the line, the gap might grow. Is the glass really that good at blocking heat? Shanghai hasn't been that hot recently, so we haven't done a proper test, but it does feel a bit darker than a typical panoramic glass roof, and that coating pattern looks pretty similar to the Taikung's too. How's the infotainment? Any bugs? The infotainment system is one of Xiaomi's strong suits, basically top tier among current systems, and the voice control is really pleasant. No unnecessary chatter. Hey, open settings. Voice control turned on. Rain mode. Got it. Done. Charging now. Hey, are you there? Turn on the AC, seat heating, cruise mode, and roll down the windows. Set ambient lighting to red and play some music. Navigate to Hongqiao train station. No problem, turned it on. Warmed up quickly, all set now. Ambient light set to red. Okay, which one would you like? The first one. I think there are two main things to improve. 1. The gauge cluster's power output readout has a delay. 2. Sentry mode is way too sensitive. It triggers whenever a person or car passes by. Park it somewhere busy, and you can fill up the storage card in one night. The Xiaomi staff uniform looks so cool. Sure, speaking of which, I want to mention Xiaomi's accessories. The build quality is pretty good, even though the mounting spots are a bit tricky. The installation tools and steps are actually pretty user-friendly. With this move, Xiaomi, basically, shut down the entire aftermarket accessory business. These accessories either need data connection to the car system, which requires a protocol third parties don't have, or the ones that don't need a protocol can't compete with Xiaomi on cost. I feel like, the more Xiaomi cars sell, the more they'll make from accessories, while the more Neo sells, the more they'll have to spend on supporting services. Neo's store has plenty of nice stuff too, but it's all optional. Take it or leave it. Whereas once you buy an SU7, it's hard not to end up buying a few accessories. How's the sound system? Couple more things before we wrap up. At first I was skeptical about Xiaomi making cars. The average person might think, Xiaomi makes solid gadgets and appliances, so making a car should be fine too. But I actually know a bit about car manufacturing, and 3 years is way too short. I've tried plenty of new automakers' first cars, and they all had some issues. My Xiaomi 14 and my whole Xiaomi ecosystem had plenty of bugs, so I definitely wasn't going to buy this car. Let someone else be the early adopter. But after seeing the actual car, we completely changed our minds about Xiaomi. The build quality has no real problems. Driving it has no real problems. You could even say it's quite impressive. It's hard to believe this is a car made in just 3 years. Honestly, given how mature the domestic supply chain is right now, building a 200 to 300,000 yuan electric car isn't like cancer drugs or chips or controlled nuclear fusion, where there are major technical breakthroughs needed. It's more about knowing what makes a good car, knowing how to actually build one that good, knowing what to do at each stage, by what standards, and which direction to solve a problem when it comes up. And what that requires is people with real technical experience, not how advanced the robots in the factory are. Seems like Lei Jun isn't just good at supply chain integration. He's pretty good at bringing in talent too. A friend who works at a car company told me, Xiaomi's engineers work incredibly hard. At the test plant they're often there until very late. But Xiaomi didn't mention any of this at the launch event. Before the launch we were actually waiting to watch it flop. Felt like Geely had already laid a trap waiting for it. Then after launch, I checked the orders, and Xiaomi had basically surrounded everyone instead. After watching this video, you might think, this whole bunch of chihuahuas has switched sides. Honestly, I think this is a good thing. Having another automaker that can compete with Geely on driving and handling. Everyone racing on lap times instead of spec sheets. That's how Chinese cars develop more fully. We hope Xiaomi can manage mass delivery well going forward, and we're looking forward to seeing other creators take the SU7 to various tracks. We'll also keep an eye on Xiaodong's experience with her car. If anything happens, we'll report back. Don't worry, nothing will happen. And that's it for this episode. Thanks for watching. Remember to like, share, and follow. See you next time. Bye.
Are you OK？
好啊，一起欣赏雷军的 Are You OK？